Hello and welcome to the Healed Approach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Heald, and in this series, in partnership with the Facade Collective, we are going to be focusing on the phenomenal women in construction, highlighting their pivotal roles in an industry where they lead with resilience and innovation. This is a celebration of their achievements and a call to action for true equity in traditionally male-dominated fields. Join us as we uncover the stories of these inspiring women, the challenges they've overcome and the transformative impact they're making. With every story shared, we're constructing a future where everyone has the foundation to build their dreams. Let's embark on this revolutionary journey together. Welcome to the Healed Approach podcast in partnership with the Facade Collective. Today, I am joined by Ross Chipperfield. Ross, thank you so much for being here today. One of the first men to come on the podcast, but I have had a couple, but it has been because I started the podcast out as wanting to share the voices of women in the industry, but of course I think it's super important that also we're getting the perspective of men in the industry as well, because I think it's, we need to be looking at allyship and unity. It's not about men versus women. It's just that there's been so many women that have wanted to talk and share their experiences, which has been amazing. Ross and I met a couple of weeks ago, and then I hounded him to come on the podcast just because he is somebody, I think, who actually supports everything that I'm talking about here. But before I waffle on about that, Ross wanted me to introduce him as a man who knows very little. I disagree with that. I think he's being very humble. But Ross, do you want to tell us a little bit, before we get into the juiciness of the conversation, about UB Infrastructure, what it is you're doing, and
Yeah, no. So primarily what we do is we use a componentized system that we're able to protect existing buildings for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And we make these buildings far more efficiency. So part of the EPC agenda to raise efficiencies, save carbon. So we can take a building from an EPC rating of F to B. And the reason why we started UB and we brought this concept to market is because in my time working in the Construction Innovation Hub, I was lucky enough to go around lots of different organisations that said they were utilising modern methods of construction. And really, what I really saw was people building underneath a roof, which again has its merits. And I'm certainly not here to say that that's a bad thing. There's some real benefits to that. But I really wanted to adapt the modern methods of manufacturing and all the efficiencies from there and bring them into the construction industry. And hence, UB has a product that's fully manufactured from start to finish. So, yeah, we work with Network Rail, we work with Transport for London. It's a proven system and it's a repeatable system, but still, we're slowly but surely building traction in other sectors and other industries. But it's pushing more uphill, unfortunately. It's still an education piece as well as a manufacturing and installation piece. So modern methods of construction and all the benefits, people are still relatively wary about utilising them. But yeah, that's what UB do in a nutshell.
It's interesting because I was talking about, I've recently had fire safety engineer on the podcast, and we touched on obviously fire safety. Oh, we've lost Ross. There he is.
So sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. We've had kids screaming in the background, dogs barking, everything on this podcast. It's fine. It's real. We're real people doing real jobs. I think what we were talking about is, and I link this to sustainability as well, because I think, obviously what you're doing, it's in terms of like future proofing, the industry moving forward. It's moving forward, and I think that sometimes is challenging. But I think there is fear sometimes, or a lot in the industry about doing things differently.
Yeah.
I think some of that fear comes from, we just don't know what we don't know. But I also think it comes from, so much legislation, we're all worried. I spoke recently about like the aftermath of Grenfell, and everybody's worried about, safety. Everybody's worried about how expensive modern methods of construction are going to be. Everyone's worried about, how expensive being more sustainable is. So, I think that is a challenge often. And I think we need to dispel some of those myths, don't we?
100%. And there's general concepts that are just or thought processes that are just so out of date when you're looking at costs. So we're 85% cheaper than anything that's out there in the market because we manufacture. So, there has been some relatively damaging companies in the past that haven't given modular a good name, or, even back to the, if I talk to my dad, he'll talk about the prefabricated days and the kind of horror shows that was going on there. But, we've moved on. And I think you're right 100% about the future proofing. So whether or not that's through utilizing manufacturing and, teaching engineering rather than bricklaying, and, looking at the skill shortages that we have. But also as well, the reason why I was a massive fan of you and the work that you're doing is I can't ever sit here and talk about how hard it is for women in industry. But what I can tell you is that statistically it's skewed, isn't it? I mean, I shared something the other day that, 50% of the workforce in the world are women, yet 1% work in construction on the tools. And there's obviously something wrong there, isn't there? And also as well, I've met some fantastic women in the industry, and the best boss I ever had has been a woman. So I just don't understand the mindset. So, I'm all for what you stand for and what you talk about. And equally, the equality doesn't come just purely for women and men, but the kind of future that we're giving children and the future proofing of the industry.
Yeah, and I love what you said there as well, because I've heard that so many times from men and women about how some of their best bosses were women. And it still baffles me, because it's almost like it's an inside joke. Well, guess what? The best person, the best leader we ever had was actually a woman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, really? So what's the problem here then? Why are we not recruiting more women? Why are we not seeing more women rising through the ranks? Well, we know why. And, and I think this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm wanting to talk to you as well, because you've hit the nail on the head in so many ways there too. So many things I want to unpick. Because you said you don't know what it's like to be a woman in the industry. No, but women also don't know what it's like to be a man in the industry. Okay. Yeah. So there has to be that learning from each other. Why is it? Why I want to understand why it is that there isn't as much unity and allyship in the industry. Is it because we need to be sharing more of our experiences with you, and you're going to be open and listen to it and maybe make change that way? Is it that you don't want to listen to us because you're fearful of change? I imagine it's a bit of both. And I think we need to be, people like you, allies like you, need to be kind of out there more, which is why I've got you on the podcast, because I think when you start talking about this, other men are going to feel that they are able to talk about it as well, because I still think there's the stigma, isn't there, around, being macho and what have you, and sticking to what works in the industry. But also as well, you talked about teaching engineering. I think I spoke to you, actually, there's been some progress. I think when I met with you a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to you about UK Construction Week, and you really sparked a lot of thinking in me, because you were talking about how it would be great at those. It's not UK Construction Week; it's Construction Week in Lincolnshire. UK Construction Week is different. I am talking there as well, but Construction Week in Lincolnshire is where schools are coming to learn more about construction, and lots of construction businesses come and share experiences so that children can get an insight. But for me, I feel like we need to be doing and showing how things are moving forward. It's not just about showing them how to build how to lay a brick. It's not just about showing them how to build a bridge. It's not just about showing them how to spot health and safety signs. I'm not saying that isn't important, but we need diversity of experience within those, those events. So, and you were showing me, obviously, I can't explain this as well as you can, but obviously about the way that you kind of can develop something on your laptop, on screen, and then it can come to life, do you want to explain a little bit of what you kind of showed me?
Yeah, so I think the thought process for me, and this is me purely, so this isn't a slight on the industry at all, but if at school, so I went into engineering and manufacturing, but if at school I was, approached by somebody and said, well, engineering isn't just about avionics and aviation or automotive, it's about construction, then I might have been more inclined to have gone down that route. And, for me, I didn't want to work outside in the cold. And again, each to their own. And the industry is amazing. There's some beautiful architecture in the country, and we're very lucky for that. But we use precision engineering. So we use folders and robots and welders and laser welders, and all over this product we don't use any welding. But there's an opportunity to really inspire the next generation by looking at how do we do this? How do we look at the next stage? I mean, we're only touching scratching the surface as far as 3D printing and all these other things that will become cheaper and more available in the future. But so what we do is we utilize a system called SolidWorks, and we develop a 3D design that's then squirted down into a programming system that then goes into a laser cutter, cuts the metal, and then it's taken to a folder where it's all programmed and it's folded, and then it's assembled. And there's some other technical things as far as the SIP panel themselves and the insulation that goes inside, but essentially that's it. And that's within a 0.5 millimeter tolerance, which again is just industry changing, but far more captivating for the, I hate to say it, but for, I don't know what the P5 generation, the generation that are amazing at computers. I'm awful with technology, but the next generation are amazing. My son's 3 and he's far more capable than what I am. So why not utilize the skills that they're going to have and really game change the industry for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years and beyond. So that's what we do at UB, and that's the system that we utilize.
Absolutely. And, I think this is exactly how we need to be inspiring the younger generation as well, because, I get a lot. I still get, I've shared this, and you very kindly shared a post separately kind of to kind of back up what I was saying, that, I've shared how I get a lot of trolling, women shouldn't be in construction, women, physically can't be in construction, we don't want to see women on site. And it's like, yeah, but the industry's changing. There isn't for everybody. The industry's changing for everybody. So, and now the best thing about it is that even the younger boys, they're not necessarily wanting to go into construction because they're still seeing it in the traditional sense. They're not seeing exactly, like you said, all the ways. If we can get those younger minds, we're going to kind of transform the construction industry in a positive way.
Yeah.
And I think this is, so since we spoke, I've managed to get a young girl. She's in her 20s. She's an engineer. She works locally. They work in sustainability as well. So I've got her. So it's like ticked every box for me. She's coming along and she's going to do something with me at Construction Week. I want to talk about sustainability because this is what this is all about as well. Okay. It's future proofing, looking at modern methods of construction, getting more women in the industry, getting younger minds in the industry. This is all about what sustainability is all about. It's not just about, your EPCs and your passive house and what have you. And, so for me, I've got this young girl, she's amazing. She's incredible. She loves engineering and she loves, they're looking at sustainable ways of doing it. And she's going to come to the UK Construction Week. And so I think, so thank you. I think it was probably, I think I'd already spoken to you about how I wanted to get some younger female, younger females along to the event. But I also really do feel passionate about promoting engineering as well, because girls don't see themselves there. Boys don't even understand what it means. my son. So Luca has always loved Lego. Okay, massive Lego fan, and now obviously he's moved over to doing it all on his laptop. I don't really get it. I told you, he's building houses all the time on his laptop. Obviously, they don't, like you said, if he could bring that to life with 3D printing, amazing, he'd be sold. But he didn't. He had his options recently, and he wanted to do business, economics, and history. I wanted him to do business, engineering, and history. And he did, but even when we went to look at engineering, he couldn't see how what he was doing would translate into an engineering career.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? Luckily, whatever happened, he didn't get onto economics. I think I said, okay, put down what you want, darling. It's not about me. I just see, how this could go for you. He didn't see it, but he got on engineering. So I'm super delighted that he's going to be doing, but I think this is the thing, is that he's nearly 14. There's no reason why he can't have seen it the way that I see it. The reason is because the education system is not showing them that,
100%. And it's transferable. At the end of the day, an engineer is an engineer. I mean, it's great that you have engineers that are specialists in certain nuances, but essentially, if you're an engineer and you go into construction, yeah, exactly. It's completely, but you put 12, 10-year-olds in a field with a bunch of bricks and see what they come up with. But every single one of them 12-year-olds would be able to go on Minecraft and build a house, which is exactly the same as what we're doing. It's just, different graphics essentially, but yeah, it's exactly the same as what we're doing. So yeah, why not utilize that and the strengths that they have?
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, no, that's brilliant about your son.
Yeah, no, I'm super, super pleased. And I'm hoping he enjoys it. Business is definitely a good one for him as well. It's too smart.
Yeah. I think we need to do it. I mean, again, it's just really scary. So we've got this, the government have plucked out numbers. And I say, and I shouldn't say because it's a derogative term, but I say that the stale pale. And I shouldn't really say that now. Not only is it derogative, but I am grey and pale. So I am one of them. But, they've brought out these numbers, and these tier ones have agreed with these numbers that we've got to hit 300,000 buildings a year, which on a new build scale, which is just never going to happen if you're using the traditional methods. And even these companies that do modular, they're not going to be able to hit them numbers. It's just never going to happen. And also as well, you've got issues like pipeline and all these other things that the government just don't commit to, and other organisations don't commit to, and it's damaging to the industry. So when we're looking at these numbers, it's scary, and I think it is 300,000. And I'm looking at my phone because I made a note, but they're basically, so from the new build perspective, we need a new way of doing it. It needs a new process. We need to look at manufacturing and adopting modern methods. And I understand that completely. I'm not actually in housing, so I can really take quite a sort of neutral look at that, and I hope to one day we would. Not yet, yeah. Yes. Well, one day we hope to do that, but I mean, really, we would never be new build because of our system doesn't really work that. But the retrofitting. So, according to UK Green Building Council, there are 29 million homes in the UK that need to be retrofitted before 2050, and at least 15 million need to be retrofitted before the end of this decade. So we've got 300,000 new build houses a year, and we've got 15 million houses that need to be retrofitted. It's, unless people do look for the next frontier and transition to some new methods, we're just not going to achieve any of it. So,
okay. And what does that, and how do we do that? By bringing in youth and by bringing in diversity.
Youth, diversity, and technology. I mean, the thing is,
youth and the diversity will bring along the technology.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And the technology's there now. I mean, a lot of the time, it's not the fact that the technology isn't there. It's the fact that it's just a lack of imagination to utilise it within this industry. So, it's all there. But again, let's train the next generation. Let's bring them on. Let's empower people, and rather than sort of knocking people and criticising them, let's really get behind them and let's be the spearhead of the next generation and the next evolution of the construction sector.
Exactly. It's taking action towards that as well, isn't it? And
Yeah.
what worries me, I say worry, I suppose worried me into wanting to do what I'm doing, but is that we're not going to maintain, or we're not going to retain, the talent in the industry unless we change the way that we're thinking and we're approaching stuff. And this is, again, why I think it's so important for, I say men in the industry, because we cannot get away from the fact that it's mainly men in the industry, 14%. I mean, I was talking to a fire safety engineer earlier, 8% women in the fire safety engineering, 14% is dipped, in construction as a whole. So we do need men to be opening up to hearing about the experiences of women and how we can make those better. And for me, I think if we make the experiences better for women, we're going to be making the experiences better for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to retain, and I suppose, this is might be a tricky question to ask because, you're just one man who knows little. Not so true. But I guess what do you think, or what have you seen as some of the issues, I guess, that women face, just from your perspective?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because again, I am a man,
I know.
and I don't want to, which is questionable. But I don't know if I'm like the best educated person to say that. But from certainly from my perspective, I think, and I work with some great contractors. In actual fact, I'm lucky that the contractors I work with are amazing. And I've come from manufacturing, and they've almost given me an apprenticeship in construction in a very short period of time. But and this isn't a whitewash on everybody in the sector, but I do feel like sometimes it's kind of like the last vestiges of the old school male, certainly when it comes to on site, which doesn't help. But I don't necessarily think it's from my perspective, it's if we're looking at true equality, I think that we all need to change from the perspective of it's not a male woman thing, it's a people thing, it's a society thing, it's not a cut between the two of them. And I think that change has to come from the top. Now, the lady who's in charge and developing the business plan for Labour, I can't think of her name now, I've gone blank, but she's fantastic.
Oh yes, I know who you mean.
My mind's gone completely blank. But she's absolutely fantastic, and she's set out some really stringent challenges and some really hard targets to hit. But she wants to develop the economy by kickstarting construction and doing what we're doing. So it needs to come from the top, and I think eventually that will build down. But to be honest with you, since I've been in the sector, I've been lucky because I work for a company called the Manufacturing Technology Centre, which was part of the Construction Innovation Hub. And I've only seen and only witnessed fantastic ambassadors, females within the industry. So they were great. And some of the architects that we work with have been amazing. Some of the structural engineers that we've worked with that are female, again, ambassadors. I mean, I can put you in contact with them because they are true ambassadors and they are absolutely fantastic at what they do. I haven't worked with one woman on site, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know I'm not educated enough, and I'm certainly not the right person to speak to how we fix that. But the one problem that I have come across is that I haven't worked with a woman on site, so there must be something wrong with that.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And I think for me, it's a multitude of reasons, isn't there? Women don't want to put themselves in that situation. There are plenty of women that are on site. There are some amazing women on site. But I think, we're taught from a very young age that construction is not a good place to be or a nice place to be as a woman. And so it's not something that we necessarily want to go into. But then you get this narrative, this toxic narrative that women just don't want to be in it. You know, it's like, you know, why women don't want to be in the industry. And it's like, well, the thing is, you're right. Women probably don't want, or certainly not all women, but there are women that don't want to be in the industry because they don't want to deal with the shit. But actually, might be really good. You know, they might be really good bricklayers. They might be really good joiners. They might be really good electricians. But being in that environment puts them off, and that's what's upsetting in a way, because they bring another element. They bring what site needs. You know, because on site there's so much misogyny, there's still so much machoism, whatever it is. There's still so much refusal to look outside the box. And then if a woman does make it on site, if a woman is successful, it's because she's had to literally grow a pair of balls. And I hate to say that, because again, where's this saying, get yourself some balls? Oh, that's because a man is stronger than a woman, right? Bullshit. You know?
I think that, and again, I might get shot down by some of the people that talk to you about it, because again, I probably shouldn't say it, but I think that, you know, everybody's got their facets and everybody's got their skill sets, and this is a third hand experience, so you'd have to excuse me, but somebody I know with a contract we primarily work with, and again, they're absolutely fantastic, and I was at a meal with him, and his daughter works this. She's a project manager on site, and this guy had worked for this construction company for 40 years. And when his daughter said that she wanted to be a project manager, he was so worried because he knew what it was like. And she didn't let it stop her. And she's an amazing project manager. I mean, I've never been lucky enough. She doesn't work in rail, so I've never worked with her. But I've heard an awful lot about her, and everybody says exactly the same thing, is that she is absolutely fantastic, if not the best project manager that they have in the construction company. So I think from utilising facets and skill sets, then you would have people in certain roles, whether or not that be man or woman, but for their key strengths. And I think I said to you before, it's about their key strengths in utilising their talents. And what I'm really not keen on is people being shoehorned in positions that, just for the sake of ticking a box or hitting an agenda that they feel like they need to be hitting, because again, that person will be shoehorned into a position that he or she will not be capable of doing, and then they just won't last. So
it can damage careers.
Exactly.
And it has damaged careers.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't been in the sector long enough to probably answer the question as well as you want, but I think that chap that said that to me is probably the best example that I can give you of, you know, him being worried, you know, and generally really stressed about her coming into this sector, and you know, she's just absolutely smashed it. So.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, there are obviously lots of allies out there, lots of people, like you say, you know, if someone's worried about what their daughter's going into, then obviously they can see and they know it's not right. So it's like, okay, why can't we move? And it's not right for men, you know, that this is why, again, there's so many, you know, there's such, for me, I feel like if there's more diversity and more balance within the industry, there wouldn't be such an issue around mental health either, you know, because people would feel safer, more supported. And that's definitely not the case at the minute, is it? And right. I think as well, there is the legacy. I can't remember if it was you that I spoke about this with. I think it was, you know, the legacy of the way that the education system has portrayed construction and kind of shuffled or shoehorned, you know, certain individuals into construction. It's like, okay, you know, if you're not doing well at school, if you're misbehaving a bit, if you're academically, you know, not good enough, then, you know, go do construction, go and work in construction. So then you've got just this kind of, how do I put this? Again, there's no diversity, is there? Because there's just this one kind of people that are doing those jobs. And I was speaking to somebody recently, and he was telling me about how his son he's at school and he was coming up to doing his GCSEs, and he asked if he said to his teachers, "Look, none of these GCSEs, I want to be a carpenter. None of these GCSEs are going to support me to do that. It'd be pointless. Can I go on day release, to college?" Anyway, the teacher came back and was like, "You're doing too well academically for us to allow that to happen." Whereas if he wasn't doing so well academically, if he was playing up, he would have been able to do that. We see this all the time, don't we? We see the problem children are sent away to do an apprenticeship or to go to college to learn a trade, and it's just that, and it's devaluing also the construction industry and really putting a very narrow perspective on it. But this is still happening. What I just said to you now is something that's happened recently, to a 14-year-old child.
Yeah, that's a real shame. I mean, we'd spoken, our generations, and again, you can't whitewash, but our generation really was brought up inherently monogamous, because at the end of the day, if you were leaving school and you didn't really know what you wanted to do, then, for the boys, it was go and get a trade, or go into the forces or something along those lines. And if it was a woman, it was, you go into hairdressing or something like that. It is inherently misogynistic. And I thought and I hope that we had to move on. And I kind of think that's us as parents probably need to move that on more than anybody else. But, my kids, they do know that. They know that their mum's more intelligent than their dads. So,
well, my kids know that too.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They know that mum's far more capable than what I am. So, but I think at schools, we are failing the system, failing the kids. And again, it's another way that if the government and the other people that say that they've got these agendas and these thought processes, if they truly want to change it, they need to hit it at ground level, and they need to hit it at schools, giving people viable options and the right people at the beginning. I'm a massive fan of apprenticeship.
I was talking to my son about this yesterday. Because for me, it was only ever university. I was only ever going to go to university. Interestingly, I'm the only one out of my family. I was the first, and I think I'm still the only one who went. No, I've had a cousin who's gone to university, my mum's side anyway. So sometimes it comes from experience as well. And sorry to say this, but, the class that you're in, we were very working class. University wasn't something I had to pay for myself. I didn't have a penny from any of my parents to put me through university. That didn't stop me being me. But I was talking to my son about that yesterday, about apprenticeships. He didn't know what one was. He didn't know. He's 10. He knew what university was.
Yeah.
He knew that was a pathway for him. He didn't know he could do an apprenticeship. I had to explain what an apprenticeship was. And and I said to him, I said, you do what you want. If you don't want to go to university, that's fine. If you want to do an apprenticeship, whatever you want to do. And I'm trying to take away the stigma around, if you're not that bright, you need to do this. And if you are bright, you need to do that. It's just we do not teach through the education system a growth mindset. And then we wonder why we've got such a fixed mindset, within the workplace. And this isn't unique to construction.
No, and people are saying about, and I mentioned a chap, I won't mention him on here for defamation of character, but these people that talk about transcending the industry and reform and really shaking it up and an industrial revolution and all these kind of things. Well, you can't have one toe in and test the water. You've got to go for it. And you've got these organisations like the Construction Leadership Council that look at training and developing skill sets. Well, they should be going into schools and developing them. Yeah. No good teaching somebody my age. Let's go into the schools. Let's go into the colleges. Let's give a sixth form the ability to build their own common room. Let's look at what we can do to develop these youngsters and give them more of a choice. And yeah, it's just it's upsetting that we're not doing that. I never used Pythagorean theorem. I've never used that, so I don't know why that was relevant for me to learn that.
Well, I use it every day.
Yeah, you might do. But what I would have liked to have been taught is
I've never made a carbonara either since I learned.
Yeah, yeah. But what I would have liked to have been taught is not to get a credit card at 19 and smash it.
Or if you're going to get one, to do it sensibly and understand how.
Yeah, and how to pay my mortgage and how to expense and how to do all these things and how to save money.
But
And
kids know this, you know. My son, right, is 10, and I think it was last year, and he said to me, he was like, he hates school, right? Well, he likes to go with his mates. He's a very, very smart boy. Pain in the ass, but, you know, and a million miles an hour, very strong-willed. It's so funny, actually. I won't go into that story, but he went down to his friend's house yesterday. And I get a message from his friend's mum, because Leo's like invited every other kid on the street to his friend's house. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, I'm really pleased that my son's displaying leadership skills, but come on, you know.
yeah,
Anyway,
it's not my house.
I don't know where they get this from. I really don't. Anyway, I've taught them that they can do anything, but it's backfiring on me. Last year I think it was, I was trying to he's like, what's the point in going to school, Mum? They're not going to teach me how to pay my bills. They're not going to teach, and I'm like, and everything they are teaching me, I can learn online. And then there was something else he came out with, something really like smart. I can't remember what it was. I was like, oh, babe, did you learn that at school? Don't be silly. We don't learn about that at school, you know. And I'm sorry, I don't, you know, because I think, you know, teachers are doing an amazing job, you know, and what have you. I feel like the education system as a whole is just failing the future generations, because it's archaic, it's not moving with the times. There's so much pressure on teachers that they can't even really look outside the box. This is what I used to do. I used to go into schools and to help them look at how they can, you know, improve the diversity, be more inclusive, looking at the curriculum, looking at the small things that they could do, not the big, huge revolutionary stuff, you know, because like you say, it's not about just dipping your toe in, making a big wave and then coming out again. It's about the small incremental things that can be done over time, and how we make mistakes, we learn from them, we move forward, you know. And that's what we also need to be teaching children to do, because they're so afraid of failure. They're so afraid of getting things wrong because they're going to fail an exam. You know, I think you're right. I think that it's not just about going in there and educating children, it's educating teachers as well. They don't understand it. They don't know any different. They think that they're doing the best thing ever by encouraging children to go to university. You know, they don't understand. They don't understand what the industry offers. I'm talking to schools now, you know, who say that. They say, we do know we're failing. You know, and this is the beauty. This is one, although I was dead against academisation to begin with, there is a huge benefit to it, because businesses, I mean, yeah, schools are becoming businesses, but schools can look at things a bit differently and can bring industry in a little bit more, which is great. But I'm going off on a million tangents. I do apologise. I think that you said it's not necessarily about teaching people our age, teaching leaders. That has to happen too as well. Because there is
100%.
There is no point in, like I say, getting these, because I'm not being funny, but at this point, those young minds, those brilliant young minds, we can convince them, we can, you know, show them how great the industry is. But if they're still coming into a culture and an environment that is toxic, they're not going to stay.
No, agreed. But, you know, just to add on that, if these big tier ones, multi-billion pound tier ones organisations truly are worried about the future of the industry, then why aren't they being encouraged to spend their money on the youth as well? Why aren't they being more involved? And it's great, you know, my MD, Charlie, who you're going to meet, fantastic. You know, best thing that's ever happened to my company. 27 years of age, absolutely brilliant. And he was in an apprenticeship and a scheme with a tier one, and he'll speak to you about that. But, you know, that's great. But he went to university, and he's obviously a very clever lad, and he might argue this, but did he need that leg up? Or is there people that are not being approached, not being spoken to in schools and underprivileged areas that could really benefit from these multi-billion pound organisations supporting them through a training scheme? Are they doing enough? No, they're not. So, there's lots of different ways of looking at it. And like you said, we are lucky. I mean, all this rubbish is going on at the moment. We're lucky to live in this country. We're privileged to have that education system. And our kids are lucky that they go to bed safe every night and they are in an education system. But the education system needs to be improved. So,
It does.
and equally as well, the best thing that happened to me when I was at school was I was allowed to go on a motor vehicle study, which was extra. It was out of school time, and we learned, and that's how I become so enthralled into engineering and manufacturing, because I got that mechanical comprehension and I really enjoyed it. And that was arranged by the local college with school, and we done that in our own time. So, we don't necessarily need to disrupt the current curriculum. It can be done as an extra, but we're not doing anything. We're not encouraging the youth today, and I think that's fundamental for the seismic change that's needed.
There needs to be a strategy. There needs to be a strategy to look at this. There's been investment in tech. There's been investment in other industries, but there hasn't been in construction, and that baffles me, because we are the future. Construction is the future of the economy. It is it's everything. It's professionally, personally. We want homes that we feel safe in, that we feel healthy and happy in. We want workplaces the same, and we need to make sure that we've got a built environment that's fit for purpose. And if we don't look at how we move forward with that, then it's never going to be, I think.
No. I think the government do see it, and we've had white papers published, and there was a big push on modern methods, and then they pulled back, and then they invested again, and they do know this, and in the industry ripe for development, they know it is. The sector, automotive has been, streamlined so well, so much money invested, and all different processes that are adhered to, and it's very streamlined, and it's really efficient. Same as the aviation sector, same as the energy sector. So construction is the last frontier as far as really going in and changing. But while we're making this massive change, why not change everything? Why not completely rip it apart and change it all for the better?
Yeah.
And I think we've got that opportunity to do that. So
yeah.
Let's hope it's achieved, because I think that we've really been missing an opportunity.
Well, that's why I'm trying to marry as many people together to talk about this. Because I think there's so much talk and so many good ideas, and we all need to start coming together and sharing those ideas and doing and taking action. And I am.
Like I said, certainly from a personal perspective, Charlie's 27 and he's come into the company, and he is far more forward thinking than me. Definitely the best thing that's ever happened to our company, and we're empowering him to really take the company by the scruff of the neck and pull it forward. And the industry need more people like Charlie. They need more people like yourself, and
yourself.
And me. And I think that I do have a serious hope that we will get it over the line. It's just tenacity at the moment, and a will to keep on going, and I think that we'll get there. So,
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, it was a privilege to meet you the other day, and it's a privilege to be on the podcast. First time I've ever done a podcast. Probably the last time as well. But,
no, you're a pro. You're a pro.
But yeah, no, it's a privilege to meet you, and I think you're doing a great job. And like I said to you before, people that you've got a voice and you've got a platform. Some people won't like that platform. Some people will. Some people will like what you say. Some people won't. But people have their opinions, and you can't please everybody. But people that didn't have opinions against them didn't achieve anything, and you just back on. So,
it is, and we did touch on this earlier. Yeah, definitely. It's a tough industry for everybody. It is particularly a tough industry as a woman as well, because you have to really think about the tightrope that you're walking as well. And that, for me, I think that's what I want to change, you know. And like I say, not just for women, for everybody. The only reason I say that is because I can only talk about it from my perspective as a woman. I can't talk about it from a man's perspective. But hopefully, you know, encouraging these conversations, being curious, building these relationships, that's how we begin to understand, isn't it? And how we begin to make the changes that are going to matter for everybody.
Yeah, and like we said before, equality for everything across the board. It's not one thing or the other, and you can't pick and choose. It's literally equality for everybody.
Quality, equity, it doesn't mean the same for everybody either, you know? So that's something we need to move away from. But it means being valued and, you know, and having the same opportunities. But we are all different and we all have different needs. And we need to remember that. Well, thank you, Ross. I'm super excited about catching up with your MD as well, which I'm going to be doing later today. Can you let people know where it is that they can find you? I'm super excited about what you're doing. And I can't wait. I'm hoping that you're going to get into house building sooner rather than later. But can you tell people where it is that they can find you?
Yeah, so we're at ubi.eco. So if you could be kind enough to share the link for this, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, it looks on our website, it tells you all about what we do, what we're trying to do, and a little bit about how we do it. But yeah, we'd love for people to get in contact. Because again, like I said, it's almost a bit of an education piece as well. So it doesn't have to be expensive to replicate it. It's very cheap. So it'd be good to kind of cast away them thought processes and hopefully people are interested in the system. So thank you ever so much for giving me the opportunity to say that.
No, thank you very much for coming on. And anybody who has been listening, please make sure that you like, share and leave us a 5-star review. And you definitely go and check Ross out. I mean, even just on his social media as well, where he's promoting everything he's been talking about. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and I will see you here next time. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us in celebrating the trailblazing women in construction. Today's discussions have not only illuminated the remarkable contributions of our guests, but have also reinforced our commitment to fostering a workspace that honours diversity, champions equality and nurtures innovation. Through our collaborative efforts with the Facade Collective, we are reminded that every contribution in construction is a step towards a more inclusive and equitable industry. Let the stories of these courageous women inspire us all to continue building a future where gender is no longer a barrier to success, but a testament to our collective strength and diversity. Until next time, let's keep pushing boundaries, breaking barriers, and leading the charge towards a more equitable and inclusive world.